up with a research problem statement and the objectives. Be able to decide what type of research, and with that information, be able to provide a clear explanation in your research design. In one of the sessions, one challenge I've seen for your colleagues who are already gone through resources. When you come to the research design, you will say, I will use descriptive research. But in the descriptive research, many different types. Although you need to describe your research here, because in several studies, several designs that are designed for describing a particular research. When we talk about the descriptive research, we refer to those studies that are designed to obtain information concerning the status of life. You are dealing with a research question which looks at describing a particular situation. The type of research we do is the descriptive research. Let's say, for example, coming late is a crime. And making noise after coming late is a serious crime, because you are disturbing my presentation. If, for example, you wanted to describe the wealth status of people in area 15, and you had a question, a research question to say, what is the wealth status of people living in area 15? Such a research question will be begging descriptive research. Because your interest is to describe the situation in area 15. So if you have a research question which is looking at the wanting to explain the particular status of phenomena, then the studies will be doing descriptive research. Many people confuse thinking that when we say descriptive research, there is no quantitative data collected. No, we will have quantitative data in the descriptive research, but the data you are collecting is to help you to describe the situation in a particular area. My example of describing the wealth status of people in area 15, part of the variables to prove wealth status will be such things like income. And we are not collecting data on income without using quantitative data collection to find that. You still use the collected that data quantitatively. And after you have collected that rate is a crime. Making noise after you have come late is a very serious crime. So, in that case, you still be collecting quantitative data, and you will be expected to analyze that data to be able to tell us what is the average income for people in area 15. But telling us the average income for people in area 15 is describing the status of people in area 15. If they have assets, you might end up collecting quantitative data. How many rentals does a household in area 15 have? How many cars on average do a household in area 15 have? So how many cars? That's quantitative data. But at the end, you are describing the status of people in the area 15. So the question of research type is what defines the type of research. It's not whether you are collecting quantitative data or qualitative data. It is the issue of describing a particular situation which defines whether you are doing descriptive research or experimental research. So in descriptive studies, the major characteristic is you don't have control. There is no control in such studies. The studies are not directed towards testing hypotheses. You deal with the research objectives, which are designed to help you describe the situation at a particular time in a particular area. I hope I'm making myself clear. So, when you are providing your research designs, one, I don't think it would be fair for you just to say, I'll conduct descriptive research, because as you can see, we have many types of research designs. And when you say descriptive research, you are not saying in your research you are not going to collect quantitative data. You may collect quantitative data, but that data is to be used for describing a particular situation. One type of descriptive studies, surveys, where you want to conduct a survey in a particular area, if the very desire need to describe that area. So you are going to an area and you are assessing what is the status of the situation in that area. So for example, as I was talking about waste status in area 15, to conduct a study, a survey, to look at how many cars does each household have, how many TVs does the household have, what is the income status of each and every household in area 15. You could conduct a survey to collect that data. So surveys is one way of conducting descriptive studies. And surveys can be sample surveys. You will also do census surveys. Sample surveys where your interest is to study area 15, but you cannot really be able to study each and every household in area 15 because of your limitations. You have to come up with a survey, a sample, and you study that sample with the view that whatever you find in the sample will be used to refer to the whole population in area 15. Then you are conducting a sample survey. That's why I'm saying you end up with, you use a sample of a population in order to discover instances of a particular phenomena, distribution of a particular phenomena, relationships that exist in that particular area. Incidence of a particular phenomenon, the level of income in the area 15, just describing what is the status of that area in a particular area. The type of assets that people in the area 15 have, we are just describing the types of assets. When we are talking about the distribution, then we are also looking at how well distributed is the particular phenomenon in the area. If we are talking about the households having cars, what is the instance of those cars? How well distributed are these cars in the population? Maybe there are certain households which have cars, certain households don't have cars. So now you be looking at the distribution. At the end, you should be able to tell us what percentage of households in that area have cars, what percentage doesn't have cars. Of those which have cars, what percentage has 2 cars versus what percentage has 1 car, and the like. Then you are dealing with the question of distribution, right? The relationships. You will now be describing what is the sort of relationship of the variables in this. For example, looking at the we are looking at the distribution of cars. And let's say you tell us that 80% of the households in area 50 have cars. What characteristic of these households makes them have cars to differentiate them with the other households that don't have cars? Is it an issue of income? What sort of relationships are associated with such variables differentiating one household from the other? If you are talking about income, some households have high levels of income, some households have low levels of income. What variables are making this distribution of income differ from household to household? Is it the employment rate? Is it the existence of income generating activities? What is it that is making them differ? Then you are dealing with the issue of relationships. Are you making sense? But all that in the process of trying to describe the status of a situation. Census surveys are surveys which will include the entire population. You study each and every element or each and every person in that population. You don't sum. Now, if you use sample surveys, one, we will expect you to conduct descriptive statistics to describe what you have found in the sample. Similarly, when you conduct census surveys, one will expect you to conduct descriptive statistics. Okay? If one of the variables you have collected is income, right? People will need to know how to describe the income status of people in area 15. And for you to be able to do so, you will need to organize your data. You will need to summarize your data. So there are techniques for organizing the data, techniques for summarizing the data, statistical techniques for doing those. For example, let's just, for argument's sake, say you find that in one household, its income level is 20 million per year. The other one, 15 million, 10 million, 16 million, 5 million, 40 million. If I asked you to describe the income statement of these 5 households that I talked about, what would you say? 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million. Does that make sense? It will not make sense. So one way of making that data start making sense is to organize it from the lowest level of income to the highest level of income. So you can say the lowest has 5 million, the highest 40 million. You're already telling someone a story, right? You can talk about the range. 40 minus 5. So you can say the income levels range from the range of income levels in the area 15 is 35 million. With the lowest being 5 million and the highest being 40 million. You have now started describing. And in that organization, you can also look at how many people have 40 million, how many households have 30 million, how many households have 10 million, how many households. So you can actually come up with a frequency distribution. With such a frequency distribution, you can tell us that the majority of the households have 30 million. You are giving us stories about income distribution in area 15. That is a statistical technique just organized and then plotting them into a frequency distribution. Am I making sense? But beyond the organizing the data, people will also expect you to talk about summary statistics. For example, measures of averages. You can talk about a mode, a median, a mean. What is the mode? Have you ever come across them? Yeah. What is the mode? Okay. The most frequently occurring score is referred as a mode. Median. We ever heard about the median? Not that she has already played that. Yes. You seem to have the professors like. So yeah, yes, professor.
Okay, it's a number that is in between.
Okay. Number that is in between.
We find the number that is between and find average.
Okay. Yes. But we can talk about it in more statistical terms so that you realize you make what he has said more professional. Is the score, you know which that score is 50% of the observations. And above that score, 50% of the observations. So it's indeed the mean score in a distribution. And for you to come up with the media, you have first to organize the data from the lowest to the highest. So in my example, if the 50% of the households in the area 15 have incomes which range from 5 million to 25 million, and the other 50% have incomes which range from 25 million to 50 million, then 25 million is the median. So it is the number below which 50% of the scores lie, or above which 50% of the scores lie. Mean that I don't have to ask because I think we all know. What is the mean? In the year. What is a mean?
What is it?
A mean.
A mean.
Mean. Or arithmetic average.
It's the sum of all values. Call it arithmetical, sir. Arithmetical is the sum of all values. Mean.
Yes.
Arithmetical. Is
The mean is also called the arithmetic average.
It's the sum of all values.
Dividing by the numbers of the scores.
Yeah. It's the sum of all the scores divided by
The number of
the
the
number of
scores.
scores. as a mean. So actually, when you are describing your data, don't talk of an average, because the word average is nonsensical. We have been using it in the past, but a mode is a measure of an average. A median is a measure of average, and a mean is a measure of average. So talk about a mean, median, even a median, or a mode. As professionals, that yeah. So, if you have collected data on incomes in area 15, people will expect you to talk about one of these three. Most likely, what is the mean income of a household in area 15? That will be part and parcel of what? Describing. But we are doing that. Yeah. So doing quantitative analysis doesn't differentiate from descriptive to quantitative studies. No. In descriptive studies, you may, depending on the type of research question, you may also need to have quantitative data which is analyzed statistically. A mean is a summary statistic. Is a statistic which is used for summarizing what you have found. When you talk about the mean, you are telling us the nature of income distribution in the area of 15. And you are using one number in the distribution. You have 100 households, and for each household you are providing this income level. You use the mean, which is one number, not the 100 numbers, one. But it is helping us to understand the nature of income in area 15. So a mean is a summary statistic. Making sense? Now, if you use a mean in association with a range, then you'll be telling us the highest income is this, the lowest income is this, the mean income level is this. In a bigger picture about your description. Area 15. All that is description. And maybe instead of using a range tells us how far apart the scores are falling at. We will use the variance or the standard deviation. All those will be aimed at helping us understand the way income is distributed in your situation. Descriptive statistics. Now, if you need assessors, some descriptive statistics will be enough. You can't go beyond descriptive statistics because you have described everything which is in the population. But if you do sample survey, then apart from the descriptive statistics, you also require to do differential statistics to make us move from the sample to the population. So if you have gotten a mean for the sample, how far away is that mean from the population mean? And that will be giving differential statistics. So that's the difference between the sample surveys, assessor surveys. In assessor survey, you describe, that's it. In a sample survey, you describe, but you need to use what you have described in part 2 making sense? Questions? So, that's one type of descriptive survey design, study design. When you're talking about surveys, there are also some variations. There is what we refer to as descriptive surveys and the explanatory surveys. As I said, a descriptive study is aimed at describing what you have found. But sometimes we may want to go beyond just describing, to explain. If the income levels in the area 15 are this, why is that income level like that? Now that question will be begging you to explain. So you can also design research objectives in your study and collect the data which will help you to explain those relationships. Explaining relationships among variables. The mean income level for people in the area 15 is 15 million per annum. And 15 million is perhaps on the lower side. Why households in the area 15 having low incomes? Now, such questions will be making you to start explaining it. So you have to look at what are the variables which are making the income level to be this low. And when you are doing that, you are now doing the explanatory survey. Questions? So when you say I'm going to do descriptive study, don't just say descriptive. What type of descriptive? Is it just describing the status? Is it explaining some of the issues found in that particular situation? Explain your research design. The other aspect I would like to talk about, this is not about the difference between this descriptive and what, no, this is about the data you collect. In the survey, it may be a survey of tangible variables. Tangible variables are those variables that are concrete, things which you can actually see, you can measure, you can test directly. Like if my research question was, what is the heights of students at University of Illinois? I can come and start measuring your height set, and the variable height will be referred as a concrete, a tangible variable, because I can measure, I can handle it, and manipulate it the way I want to manipulate it. Or what is the occupation, what is the gender distribution among students at University of Illinois? What are the tribes of students at the University of Korea. Those are the things we can very easily assess. Just the question of saying, what tribe are you, what tribe are you, what tribe are you? And you can see, you learn that somebody is Igbo, Yao, Ewa, Mbuka, whatever. And we can count the laws. But sometimes you have to deal with the constructs. Variables which cannot be directly measured. What are the attitudes of University of your students regarding the income status of people in area 15? Now, in that case, my variable is attitude, right? What are the attitudes of the University of your students regarding the wealth status of people in Malawi? My variable is attitude, right? You are right. What is my variable? Attitudes. If my question is, what are the attitudes of students of University of Lilongwe regarding a particular phenomenon, then my variable is attitudes. But I cannot see attitudes. I cannot handle attitudes. You need me to open it is the mind and read them from the mind, which you cannot do. We have to use indirect ways of measuring attitudes. Variables like creativity, achievement. For me to be able to say, the level of intelligence of students at the University of Lyon, I can't do the intelligence directly. I have to use indirect measures. I have to give you tests in mathematics, tests in English. Then I can now start saying, this is the level of intelligence. Okay? So when we are dealing with variables which cannot be directly measured, then we are talking about intangible variables. And this is a more challenging process in your research. You have to come up with the right measurement instruments to measure such variables. And to be able to say these measures are the right measures for assessing the variables I'm interested in, you have to assure us of how valid the area I want to talk about is validity when we're talking about the data collection instruments. Yeah, the issue of validity becomes very important when you are dealing with the variables of this nature. So we talked about the reliability. When we're talking about the measurement instruments, the issue of reliability becomes very important with these types of variables, which cannot be directly measured or assessed. Making sense? So whether you are doing explanatory surveys or descriptive surveys, you will be happy. You are sure in one way or another you will meet the situation of dealing with intangible variables, and you have to think about what type of measurement instruments, how do I make sure that those measurement instruments are measuring what I want to measure? How do I make sure that those measurement instruments are reliable? Validity and reliability. Another type of descriptive studies, studies which are called developmental studies. Developmental studies are studies which aim at investigating how phenomena changes at various stages of development. If we look at people, this is just an example. It's going to be development of photography. Development of Malawi. And we are looking at how income per capita is changing from the 70s to the 2020s. We have been going through development phase from the 1970s to 2020, 2024. How has the income per capita been changing over time? Developmental studies. People, as they grow and develop, how do their behaviors change? How do their abilities change? Are all developmental studies. So if you went to grade 1 students and you wanted to assess their ability to solve mathematical problems, compare it to grade 4 students, you don't expect grade 4 students' ability to solve mathematics be the same as grade 1, because you expect that as these students are developing and growing, their skills will be improving. So if you are studying such an aspect of development, then you conduct developmental studies. Making sense? So the methods are aimed at investigating how the characteristics change with age, how the characteristics change with time for developmental studies. Our colleagues in economics are very fond of looking at developmental studies. How is a particular economy developing? Is it going up economically or is it going down economically? So you are looking at the trend of development in a particular situation. All those are developmental studies. People who are interested in looking at the population, is the population increasing or going down? The first population census I was counted in Malawi came up with a total population of 4 million. The first population census I was counted in as a member of Malawi. I'm making it easy I moved so that you don't get scared. 1966. That was my first time to experience that, oh, people can become to be the country. And in that census, we were 4 million. Compared to today, where people are talking about 25 million. So, with the drop of trend which is going up, yeah. Longitudinal studies. Over this period, there have been so many population censuses which have been conducted, and we have been able to look at the trend of population in the developmental studies can be conducted using longitudinal studies or cross-sectional studies. And as I said, all those are plans of what? Descriptive studies. So if in your research you just say I'll conduct descriptive studies, that is nonsensical, it doesn't make sense. Because there are many types of descriptive studies. Longitudinal studies are studies where you use the same subjects over an extended time period. For example, you want to study how people develop in their mathematical skills as they grow. So you pick a particular school and look at grade 1 students in that school. You assess their mathematical abilities when they are in grade 1. Now you look at the same class when it goes to grade 2. You assess their mathematical skills when they are in grade 2. As they are growing grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, you keep assessing the same class. And you look at the change in their skills. That will be looked at as a longitudinal study. So you are using the same sample on an extended period of time. There are advantages of longitudinal studies. The major advantage is that explaining the changes occurring in a particular variable tends to be easier because you don't have other extraneous variables confusing your explanation. Since you are studying the same group, then any change you observe can be attributed to the development that is occurring in that group. However, the challenges as a researcher, you need to conduct a study over a longer period of time. So you need to be committed to this study, even in terms of the resources required for conducting that study. You need a longer commitment of such resources. So those can be a major challenge. You cannot come right down and say, oh no, I was just looking at the mathematical skills. What about English now? Because you don't have the history of English midway. You just look at variables which you started with. And if you started with a poor sample, that's it. You can't change for a better sample. You have to continue studying the same sample. And the other problem is attrition. By having that sample, you are likely going to experience loss of subjects in that sample. Maybe when you started with this group, there were 80 pupils in that group. But as time goes, some of the pupils will be dropping out. Some of them may be transferring to other places. So you are losing some of the subjects. And the problem of attrition is you might be experiencing that attrition in a differential way. Maybe the people who are dropping out have different characteristics from those who are remaining. So when you're describing changes that are occurring, you will have lost the effects of this who dropped out. For example, if the pupils who are dropping out are the poor performers, the best performers still remain up to grade 8. Now, when you start computing things like this, you will end up having very high performance at the higher level, low performance at the lower level. Low performance at the lower level because you had very high achievers as well as very poor achievers. But in the process, you have lost most of the poor achievers, you have remained with the high achievers. So, although you are describing the increase in performance in terms of development, part of it is because the ones you are assessing are all higher achievers and you don't have low achievers. So, attrition can affect your ability to generalize your results, which this study is referred to as a problem of external validity. This validity here is not the same as the validity we have talked about earlier on. This validity here is referring to whether your results are valid for generalization to other groups. Okay? So attrition creates such problems. And it's a common problem in longitudinal studies. Questions about longitudinal studies? Happy? Yes.
What do you mean on if the sample is poor, you can't change, and the challenge is with the
Okay. Let's assume you have decided to conduct this study where you want to look at the development in terms of achievement in mathematics as the pupils grow. And you want to study this for pupils in your group. But you cannot study all the pupils in your way. You have to come up with a sample. So you look at all the schools in Europe and you sample what is this secondary school that which the lessons will be drawn from Upikki Secondary School. Are they likely to be the same as the lessons you'll be drawing from if you did the study at Bambino? Oh. What about if you pick the good boys? Is it going to be the same as Upikki? Or is it going to be the same as Mwaira? There are differences, right? So if you have come up with a sample which is not representative of the population, then you have a poor sample. You may have chosen the best secondary school in the population, but that best secondary school will not represent the other schools. Or you may have chosen a poor secondary school, which will also not represent the other schools. In both cases, you have come up with a poor sample. Other questions? Yeah. Cross-sectional studies. 10 minutes.
Yeah. Second level.
Classe chegando. Listener. Listener. Classe chegando. Yo.
Karibu.